Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, it's Bob from Chillicothe. Got a lot of speculation going on everywhere about what we should do at number 2. Everyone's thinking you've got to take a quarterback if they're available, but everyone's just talking about the kid from Miami and the kid from Colorado. And we got a lot of evaluations that happen here. We got the Senior Bowl. We've got the Combine. I really don't understand why Will Howard for Ohio State isn't getting more consideration. He's a big kid. I don't know about his arm strength. What are the other options at QB? Does anyone ever really look at these kids? Maybe we don't have to take a QB at number 2. Maybe there's going to be someone that's going to be available in the top part of the second round to get, that we could get just a quality player. What do you think about these other kids coming up, Dave? Go Browns. Woof, woof.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Casey, it's a very light draft with quarterbacks. Carson Beck from Georgia just entered the portal, so he's probably not coming out after the injury. Jalen Milroe, well, Tommy Reese will have an idea about him if he's still around. None of them wow you. I mean, you look at it, and maybe it's because we're comparing them to last year, but it's not a great quarterback crop.
Yeah, when we're comparing them to last year, if you look at Shedeur and Cam Ward, they're probably the 6th, 7th, 8th quarterbacks if they were going in that draft, somewhere in that range. But don't get me wrong. I mean, last year's quarterback class kind of historic. All those guys that played well and looked like to be, at least adequate starters, if not plus starters. That hasn't happened since 1983 with that number of quarterbacks. So it was truly special. But if you were just comparing the classes, this is very light. As far as Will Howard, it's similar to Drew here. Is if he balls out in the next 2 games, he can make himself a good bit of money. Now, it won't be first round money. He doesn't have the ceiling, but he might play himself into a late day 2 situation. He does have the size, and, being at Kansas State and then coming to Ohio State and raising his levels, he went up levels that you want to see that. But I don't think he's viewed in the same kind of light as far as having that type of ceiling, but he can make himself a ton of money, even just being a backup in the league and being a spot starter. So that's where it's at. I think you bring up an interesting point though with Jalen Milroe. The relationship with Tommy Reese, if they decide to go with Reese as the OC, which at this point feels like the only way to keep him around, is if they think that highly of him, that relationship could come into play. But the question is where?
Right.
I don't think it happens at 2 overall.
No.
So would they just try to get the bidders, jump back again, and try to net a lot of picks, scoop him up maybe end of the first, or take someone at trade back to 7 with the Raiders, take someone at 7, and then try to jump back in at the end of the first to nab them. Because you know how that goes. If you were sitting in the fabled catbird seat with the first pick in the second round instead of the second pick, you'd feel good about it waiting after that first night. But you might have to jump back up to guarantee you get them.
Well, the other thing you'd want to do is you'd want the 5th-year option on a quarterback. So if you had a guy high in the second round, you trade back in so you get that 5th-year option and lock that in. The other thing, Will Howard's arm strength is not, it's kind of average to below average. So that's one of the reasons he's late day 2, early day 3. Competitive kid, big size, but doesn't have the arm that the NFL views as elite.